I showed up to a party in the Hamptons that would change my life forever. I met my ex-husband, my first husband, the Wolf of Wall Street. I can't have my own life while being attached to this man or person. If you have to lose your identity to keep the couple's identity, you're in a trauma bond. Now it's your turn to wear the mask. You have to tolerate the guilt of protecting yourself. The wolf was my Buddha in a way because the pain was so incredible that it cracked me open to be open to really change and do the deep work of healing.
Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of The Terri Cole Show. This was really a fascinating interview. It was with Dr. Nadine Macaluso, and she's known online as Dr. Nay, N-A-E, and she was, you ever see the movie The Wolf of Wall Street? Well, she was the wife of that Leonardo DiCaprio's narcissistic, abusive, drug addict character in that movie, but in real life. So she is really, I guess, the inspiration between, and in the movie, her name was Naomi Belford's in Wolf of Wall Street. But she survived that experience, and it was marked by abuse and narcissism, drugs, and all the thing. And then she actually decided she moved away because her husband went to jail. So she was able to feel safe enough to get out of that trauma-bonded relationship. And then she went back to school when she turned 39 to become a therapist. And she's really a somatic psychotherapist. So really fascinating to just talk about trauma bonding, how to get out of a trauma-bonded relationship, how to recognize that you're in a trauma-bonded relationship. And what I love about her, she has so many free resources on her website, which I just so appreciate. And I know not everyone does it, but I do it. And I appreciate it when I meet other clinicians who also, I don't know, it's not that you feel obligated, but it's that you want to help people in some way. And with Dr. Nay, it's very compelling because, of course, she has the education and she's got the license, but her personal experience of trauma really deepens this understanding and how she can help her clients, and she does, kind of find their authentic selves, foster more confidence, resilience, and really agency, right? To really be self-determined. And there is so much in the work that she does, potential for post-traumatic growth, which is so hopeful for someone who has experienced a trauma bond. It feels so hopeless when you're in that situation. So anyway, I really hope that you guys enjoy this interview with Dr. Nay as much as I enjoyed interviewing her. I am so excited to welcome Dr. Nay. Is that what people call you?
That's correct.
I love it. Welcome to the show. You and I were just talking before we got started about, sort of all the twists and turns that life has for us. So I'm going to ask you before we get into, because I know I definitely am interested in talking about trauma and trauma bonding and all the things, but would you share a little bit about your own, if you were a Marvel movie character, let's say, what would your origin story be of what happened that got you to this place in your life?
Yeah, so I was raised in the 70s in Brooklyn by a single mother who was obsessed with psychology. So she was reading Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud back then. And so psychology was really very deeply rooted in my childhood. But she was a single mom, and you do need money to live close to New York City. So I became a model, and I was having a fun time in the 80s modeling in New York City. And what happened one night was, as the movie The Wolf of Wall Street depicts, I showed up to a party in the Hamptons that would change my life forever. I met my ex-husband, my first husband, the Wolf of Wall Street. And unbeknownst to me, I stepped into the quintessential trauma bond. But nobody was talking about trauma bonds or narcissism. Or none of that. So I had no idea really what I was in, but I knew that it was wrong. And I knew that I was being controlled and abused, and he was a severe drug addict, and that marriage lasted for 8 years until he finally got arrested, and I knew I was safe enough to leave. And I left and picked up my children and moved to Los Angeles for a fresh start. And then while I was with him, I was in therapy. And I believe therapy saved my life. It allowed me to manage the madness. And so at 38, I decided to go back to school to become a therapist. And
And here you are.
and here I am. And that's how I got here. Yeah.
I love it. Are you still in LA?
No, I'm in Connecticut right now. Yeah. I lived in LA for 24 years with my second husband. We're together 26 years. And then we came back east because all of my children are having babies.
I love it. You're like, we need to. We must.
Yeah, we need to be with them.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about some of the expertise that you have with trauma bonding. So I get questions all the time. I talk about it quite frequently myself. But how, from your perspective and your experience, how can someone tell if they are in a trauma bonded relationship?
Yeah, so you will know you're in a trauma bonded relationship when the person that you are in love with wants power and control over you. And you notice it in overt ways and covert ways. They can micromanage you, they can be very degrading, they can be insulting, but it's always mixed in with just enough love to keep you hooked. Or it can be like my trauma bond, where it was much more overt, where my ex was very dominating, intimidating, and threatening. So his abuse and his coercion was very extreme and very obvious. But if you notice that I don't have autonomy, I can't have agency, I can't have my own life while being attached to this man or person. If you have to lose your identity to keep
Right.
the couple's identity, you're in a trauma bond.
All right, so let's talk about other symptoms. So in my therapy practice, I've seen, people be isolated from their family. They're in this
Yes.
trauma bond. This
Yep.
Their partner doesn't want to share them with anyone. Don't like
Correct.
any of their friends. Don't
Correct.
like the people they went to college with. Don't like their family most of the time either.
Yeah.
So what other patterns do you see?
Yeah. So you will see isolation. That's an important one. And you'll also see someone that wears a mask. You'll be with someone that wears two masks. So when you initially meet them, they're loving and charming and generous and kind and helpful. And I call that the Romeo mask. But then over time, what will happen is the mask will fall and they will become cruel, controlling, betraying, just very mean often. And that's the dirty John mask. And so you'll be in a relationship where this person is oscillating between these two masks. And you never know which mask is going to show up.
So one of the things that I've seen in my therapy practice is how incredibly hard it is to leave. So can you talk a little bit about that, and then we can talk about people who are in this situation, really what they can do.
Sure. Yeah. The reason why it's hard to leave a trauma bond is a lot of reasons. First of all, a power imbalance usually develops.
Yep.
And you can become extremely emotionally dependent upon this person, especially if they've isolated you. Financial dependence too, right? You might have children. You might share a business together. So those are the practical things of why it might be very hard to leave. You might fear for your life if you leave,
Right.
okay? But the other reason is that intermittent reinforcement is the most addictive behavioral pattern in a relationship. And so, more than straight, consistent love, it really keeps you addicted because you're addicted to the extreme highs and the extreme lows.
Yep.
And you're always hoping, like when you play the slot machine, that that love is going to come back.
So it's just enough. With the intermittent, it's sort of like just enough. You're
Yes.
almost out the door. You're really feeling like this time I'm going to do it. And then
Yes.
they turn and give you just
Yes.
enough to hope
Just, yes.
that it can
Hope
get
is the
better.
hook. Yeah, hope
Yes.
is the hook. And so and then also sometimes, you've been in it for so long and you're just like, maybe I could make this work. Maybe I can fix this person. And as we know, you and I know, the only person we can work on is ourselves.
Yeah. It's true, but it's so tempting when you're there because it also is so overwhelming with all the things that you set it up, right? So especially in my therapy practice, people who are financially
Right.
dependent don't know anything about the finances, have been kept
That's
out
right.
of the financial
Purposely.
loop on
Yeah.
most definitely intentionally. But I feel like if you're
Yeah.
listening to this and if you're wondering, listening to what Dr. Nay is talking about, it's like, if something were to happen to your person, do you know where things are? Do you know
Correct.
what you own? Is your name on the deed? Do you know? And these are important things to know. And I'm telling
Very.
you, a lot of people do not know. And that is intentional. It's not by
Yes.
accident
Yes.
that you don't
Yes.
know. Because why? Why wouldn't, listen, if you buy a house with your spouse,
Right. Right.
you would both be at the closing and you would both sign the thing and you would both be on the deed, and it would be very natural that way. But what do you think in a way, because I'm always looking at the therapy clients who have this repetition of being in trauma bonded situations and the break free moment. So for you, your break free moment to a degree came because your ex got arrested.
100%.
So we
100.
can't all be so lucky.
Exactly. That's what I always say. Not everybody can be so lucky that their pathological lover gets arrested.
Right.
Yeah. And, because there is that real fear factor. And especially if you're dealing with someone who does control the finances and has a lot of power, they will go ahead and use the finances and power to make leaving them terrible. And there's such a thing as post separation abuse. And we know the court system is not very friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But other women do leave for various reasons.
I mean, a lot of times kids will be, I see in my therapy practice
Yes.
that
Huge.
what you couldn't maybe do for yourself, you find that mama bear energy to
Yes.
do for children, especially if the
Yes.
partner is abusing the kids. I mean, listen, obviously, secondary trauma, if the partner is abusing you verbally, emotionally, psychologically, physically, even if they aren't directly doing that to children, we know that those kids are still being traumatized by being in that
Correct.
space.
Correct.
But I
Yeah.
feel like kids can be an inspiration to leave.
Yes, children, we could, as you said, we can often do for our children what we can't do for ourselves. And also, sometimes women literally fearing for their lives, or you just get to a point internally where you've had it. Some women also go outside the marriage and build confidence and gain
Mm-hmm.
confidence outside the marriage, and they get an image reflected back to them in work
Right,
that's very different than what they are getting reflected to in home, because the
right,
pathological lover is blames the victim for everything.
right, right.
Right? So there are various reasons why, but once you have made that internal decision of, hey, I am radically accepting I'm in a trauma bond
Mm-hmm.
and I am not going to take this anymore, you have to be very careful as to what you
Yeah.
do.
Yes, let's talk about the keeping your cards close to your chest while you're
Yes.
planning a secret escape.
Yeah, so that's what I say to every woman I work with is now it's your turn to wear the mask. And you have to intentionally wear the mask, and they have a hard time with it because then they feel like, oh my God, I'm just being like my pathological person. I'm being manipulative. And I said, no, you have to tolerate the guilt of protecting yourself.
Yes.
And you must wear the mask because you can't tell somebody that wants to control you, peace out,
Yeah.
I'm leaving, right? We
Mm-mm.
know that the most dangerous time to leave is when a victim decides to leave. So you must wear the mask and act like everything's normal. And behind the scenes, find out your finances, find
Yes.
out whose name is on the deed, right? Open up your own bank account, get your own credit card, go to Target and Walmart and get gift cards so that you also have some cash. Make sure you know where all your documents are. If you're married, hire a divorce attorney that understands trauma bonds and narcissistic abuse.
Yep.
Go to a therapist that understands it because you need to be resourced to do it. I just helped a woman leave a marriage after 35 years, and she did it very successfully.
So what was your advice?
So for the past 6 months, she's been getting all the documents together, scanning them, getting them to sending them to her attorney, and working with a really qualified attorney, and then giving him all of her documentation of abuse because you must really document the abuse,
Yes.
the verbal, the
Yes.
emotional, right? It's not, we used to think of abuse as one physical incident. That's not it.
Right.
Emotional, verbal, psychological manipulation. She documented it. And out of the blue, he got a temporary restraining order that he never saw coming. And he got taken from the home. The guns were taken from the home, and she's back in the home.
Wow.
And she did it.
Yeah. That's amazing. But how is it for you, right, with your history, with, you
Yeah.
know, how does it feel even now, all these years later, to help someone change their life like that?
Oh, forget it. I can't believe I get paid to do it, Terry.
I feel that so hard. It's so good.
Yeah, it's amazing. When you're a young girl, you're not like, when I grow up, I'm going to be a trauma bond whisperer. I never thought that this is what I would be doing, and it should have been obvious when my ex wrote a book and made a movie that I would be able to exploit it, but I still didn't even figure it out till about 7 years after the movie came out. But it's the most amazing experience in the world.
Oh, it's the best. And for you, because you are a trauma bond expert, how is it for you? What do you see in pop culture and celebrity culture?
Mm.
Do you see celebrities and you go, I think that's trauma bonded?
Yeah, yeah. Well, now, of course, because this is all I do, I can see it everywhere,
Yep.
right? And it is very pervasive in the culture, unfortunately. But what I really love now is that people like you and I are having these conversations and illuminating these concepts. And they're
Yeah.
not in the dark anymore, because one of the reasons why I wrote my book is that I wanted to break the stigma of the victim.
Yes.
There's so much stigma in being a victim of this. And here's the thing, anybody and everyone can fall for a con artist that's pretending to love you.
Yeah, it's like the whole, going back to, the manipulative tactics that are
Yeah,
used. So love
yeah.
bombing being one of
Love
them,
bombing. Correct.
right? That
Correct.
we see.
Yes.
Can you
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that?
there's love bombing, and you see it in The Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, in a crazy way. Like, he sends me 1,200 square feet of flowers from my 800 square foot apartment. So it's that constant admiration, attention,
Yep.
almost obsessive love. And, after 2 weeks, we're soulmates. Well, nobody's soulmates after 2 weeks. It doesn't
Right.
just have to be gifts, it can come in words and obsessive attention. And then there's tons of gaslighting, right? Once the mask drops and you start to
Yeah.
confront this pathological person about their behavior, about their cheating, about their abuse, it's no, you're too
Yeah.
reactive, you're too emotional, you didn't see that, I didn't do that.
Mm,
And it really makes the victim start to second guess her reality.
of course. Yeah, the thing with getting out of it though. So let's just say people
Yeah,
leave, right?
yeah,
What do you think? Because it's the healing process, right? You left,
yes.
you were able to divorce, you were able to move, but then you had to have done something to
Oh, yeah.
heal
Oh,
your
yeah.
trauma. So when you work with clients, what is the first step, right? People, I mean, obviously, we both want to make sure people are safe.
Of
So
course.
we're
Yes,
always planning and plotting safety top priority, right? Because
correct.
anything that goes above the safety, you're going to end up losing,
Right,
right? So we have to have safety
right,
first. But then
right.
what do you feel like are next steps for people who are listening?
Yeah, so what I first say is, after trauma, you are destabilized. And so I have to work with them on, okay, we have to stabilize you through extreme self care. What are you eating? What is your substance intake? How are you sleeping? Are you
Mm,
exercising? Are you moving your body? What are you taking in? Are you on narc talk all night, like on
mm,
TikTok? That's not the thing to do. Are you talking
right.
to every single person about it because you want validation? That's not the thing to do. So I give them some real practical tools for self-care and stabilization, and then we say,
Mm,
okay, you've been obsessed with this person forever because you had to be to survive. We're going to turn the mirror back on you. What are your
mm,
attachment patterns? What are your personality traits? How did your
yeah.
developmental trauma shape you? I want you now to become an expert on you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love
And we
that
go
so
into the
much.
deep work. We go into the deep work of therapy that you do every day.
Sure. Right, but there's no room. I think that that's so, even though it sounds obvious, Nadine, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like you just saying it, it's so clear that we have been, when you are trauma bonded, when you're in an abusive relationship, because your survival depends on it, you
Yeah.
are incredibly singularly focused
Yes.
on that person. And if you have children, okay, so you're giving attention there too, but you're
Right.
certainly not pouring into yourself. You're certainly not
No. No.
taking care of yourself. You're just trying to freaking survive.
Yeah, yeah. And there's no room for your needs. There's no room for your
Mm.
feelings. There's no room for your values. So we really connect to them like just wake up every single day. What do you need? What do you want? What are your
Mm-hmm.
desires? It's
Yep.
like you say, it sounds simple, but when you've been in this relationship, you're so disconnected from self because the number one, well, 100% of women have loss of self.
Mm.
Yeah, so they have loss of self because you have to slowly over time lose connection to your needs, dismiss your feelings,
Mm.
disconnect from your values, disconnect completely from yourself to stay in this relationship. So 100% of people have loss of self, 100% of people have cognitive dissonance,
Mm.
which is the confusion of is he good or is he bad? Am I
Mm-hmm.
crazy or is he crazy? Or is the
Right.
relationship healthy or toxic? And
Yep.
then 50 to 70% of them have CPTSD symptoms.
Right.
So, yes, there's a lot of work that comes afterwards. But what I say often is that the wolf was my Buddha in a way because the pain was so incredible that
Yeah.
it cracked me open to be
Yeah.
open to really change and do the deep work of healing.
It's so true. One of my best friends, Lara Riggio, says, like, you have to break down to break through. And like,
Yes.
upset is access.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's just so true. Now, it's not an upset that we would choose. We wouldn't be voting for it or
Correct.
wanting it to happen. But
Correct.
many of the listeners of the pod struggle with painful patterns, right?
Yeah.
Connected to trauma. And a lot of it is in love, and that's what we talk about. But, we see these painful patterns playing out in work situations too. If
Right.
you had
That's right.
trauma in your childhood, you had a
Right.
narcissistic or abusive parent. I had a client who
Correct.
just endlessly had narcissistic bosses. Like she really did. Like she was with me through 3 different changes of jobs and 3 different times. And of course, you have to go, all right, the common denominator in these jobs is you.
Yeah.
So, what is the unhealed part of this childhood trauma that we
Yeah.
need to get out so that you can stop acting it out? Because I feel like we can either talk it out or act it out, but really, those are our
Yeah.
two choices therapeutically.
Right. Right. Right.
So, how do you think that people understanding their own trauma can help them break out of these cycles?
Yeah, well, why it's so important is because, as you know, when we're children, we develop adaptive survival strategies, right? So whether it's people pleasing or, placating or fawning or even, really acting out aggressively, right? It can
Yep.
go both ways. And so you need to understand what are your defenses, what are your adaptive survival styles that really allowed you to survive in childhood, but
Mm-hmm.
no longer serve you and
Right.
actually hinder you reaching your potential in life and love.
Mm.
And we need to be able to name them to change them.
Yeah, it really is doing the deep dive, like you said, and yet this is so revolutionary for so many people who have been so outwardly focused in life
Yes.
and just
Yes.
giving yourself
Yes.
permission to
Yes.
turn that mirror around and go, oh, hey, I'm in my me era now
Yeah.
until I'm not, right? Because
Right.
really it takes time to understand. So for you, did you after the divorce, did you stay out of relationships? Did you repeat other sort of trauma bonded relationships?
Yeah. Well, so what happened for me is my ex's sponsor called me up and said, Nadine, if you don't go to this place, you're going to marry the same exact person. He's going to come in a different shape, in a different form. And that scared me to death. And I called up this place. It's called the Karen Foundation, and they have a
Sure.
program called Breakthrough. And I checked my ass into there between Christmas and New Year's Eve. because
Love it.
I just was like, I'm not going to do this. And that's where I learned about my family of origin more, even than therapy. I didn't know I could say no. I didn't know I could have boundaries. I didn't
Right.
know any of this. And so I learned a lot about myself. And that really, it was only for 5 days, but that really laid the foundation. I was in my early 30s to set me up for much healthier relationships in the
Mm-hmm.
future. Then I met my current husband about 2 years later, and I dated in between that, but I've been with
Mm-hmm.
him ever since. And I've been in therapy for 25 years. So this has
Same.
been a lifelong process, and we've gone to school for it. So yeah, it was a lot of inner excavation and a lot of, facing hard truths about myself.
Mm-hmm. I love the that you went to the Karen Institute to sort of kickstart because it really
Yeah.
does do that. It's almost like going to the Hoffman Institute in New York, or
Yes.
there's a lot of different
Yes.
places. But I've always read about the Karen Institute, and I always wondered, like, I've looked
Yeah.
into it so many times for different clients that I was potentially
Yeah.
referring,
Yeah.
and they're still there doing their thing. So you had a good experience.
I had an amazing experience, and I just had two people that I work with went there recently.
And they still do a 5 day thing?
They still do a 5 day thing. It's
Love
called
it.
Breakthrough. I highly recommend it. It's 5 days of your life. You're worth it.
Absolutely. It's so interesting though how when you're ready, like when you're really
Yes.
ready to
Yes.
change and you can afford to, right? Because there's a certain amount of privilege being able to go. I don't know how much it costs, but
For
you know what I
sure.
mean. It's obviously not
Yeah.
free.
No, it's not free.
But it's a commitment though. It's you being ready to do it. But how much sometimes intensive, even if something is a day or 2 days. I've done,
Yes.
week-long things at even just places like Blue Spirit in Costa Rica, like just being somewhere, learning something. How the
Yes.
the interruption of our lives, right, of our regularly scheduled programs of
Yes.
life, how it really does sort of disrupt something. And it's like, it's the way I think about trauma, that when we're in an activated place, that or having a crisis, right, emotional
Yeah.
crisis, it's almost like our defenses, because we're not like waking up to make the donuts, so to speak, right? We're not like
Right.
in the grind of
Yeah.
like wake up, burn through the day, drop, do it again.
Right.
There's
Right.
this, I don't know, like when clients are in trauma, and I wonder if you have the similar experience,
Yeah.
or, I have a terrible breakup. I feel like in 6 months, it's like we could do like 3 years worth of therapy work because the
Yes.
window is open.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Because we've been cracked open. I agree.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the body and brain grow from threat.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish there was a different way. And I think as we become more conscious, it doesn't have to be as shocking always.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think there is something really important about going away from the daily grind.
Yes. And just
Yeah.
making the decision, like you said, that what you talked about your client, the 35-year marriage leaver,
Yeah.
that just giving someone permission, and you guys watching, listening, this is Dr. Nay and me giving you permission to
Yes.
truly turn that mirror around. And if you are
Yeah.
not sure what your preferences, desires, limits, and deal breakers are, what do you like? What brings you joy? What's amazing about you? This can be like this luxurious process of
Yeah.
really falling madly and deeply in love with yourself. Like you can give it to yourself as a
Yes.
gift, and it will
Yes.
change your life.
It will. It will. And I think, as women, we've been taught to be so relational and so over focused
Hmm.
on others that I
Yep.
agree with you that we really have to say, like, give yourself permission. We're giving you permission to do that.
Right.
If only we took care of ourselves the way we take care of everybody else.
Yes. And so can you talk just a little bit? You wrote a book called Run Like Hell, A Therapist's Guide to Recognizing, Escaping, and Healing from Trauma Bonds.
Yes.
So where can people get that?
Yeah, so they can get it on Amazon. They can get it
Great.
on my website, drnae.com. Yeah.
So as the therapist guide, is it more like a how-to, like, hey, I'm ready to get out of this thing. Can you help me? Is it
Yes,
like
yes,
that?
yes, yes. It's like it explains, first of all, what a trauma bond is, who the players usually are. Then it explains why women leave, the symptoms you get, and how to heal. So it's in three
Amazing. I love it.
sections. Yeah. Very simple. And I take 4 trauma bonded couples and I weave them throughout the clinical material to make it come to
Great.
life.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. I have a question for you that's not related to trauma bonding, but it is related to boundaries because I'm still
Yeah.
obsessed with boundaries. So, in your life, what would you say personally has been your biggest boundary struggle or biggest boundary challenge? And how have you overcome it if you have?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, when I was younger, I had no idea that I could say no. It might sound ridiculous to say, but I really didn't know. And I think saying no to people that I love about things that maybe they might want me to do, but I really just don't want to do it. And I had a very hard time disappointing the people that I love. What will they think of me? Will they still love me? Will they stay attached to me? And there was a real fear there. And I, after I went to the Crown Foundation, I just got really better at it. And actually, when I came home, I said to my children, I didn't take it from your dad. They were 3 and 5, by the way, so I was ridiculous. I'm not going to take it from you. I'm not going to take it from the dog. And they were like, what's she saying? But I was so adamant about it because I finally could say no and I knew what it meant to set a boundary. And
Right.
yeah, but it was scary, really scary at first. But
But
now I don't even think about it.
of course, I was going to say, and then the more you do it, the easier it gets. The
Yeah.
easier it gets, the more you do it. And the happier your life is for doing it, right? I mean,
Oh, forget it. So much happier because I used to swim in a reservoir of resentment.
yes, it's just exhausting. And
Yeah.
having these close relationships when we're not honest, when we don't know how to set a boundary, when we're saying yes, when we want to say no, it's like we establish these relationships that are not in our best interest, and the people don't even know, right?
Right.
A lot of times they don't even know that you're not telling the truth about how you feel or what you want,
Yeah.
because the people pleasing gene and it's not a gene, right? It's the people pleasing indoctrination, because that's
Yeah.
really what it is, right? We're not born with it, we
Yeah.
were taught it, is
Yes.
so deep that it feels so scary. Like you said in the beginning, I'm
So
picturing you
scary.
confronting your little kids.
They were like, now my daughter's a therapist. So she goes, they used to say, I hate boundaries, Mom. But now they love them.
I love it. Well, this
Yeah.
was such a pleasure, Dr. Nay. I so appreciate you coming. Tell everyone where they can find you and follow you.
Yeah, so you can find me at drnae.com. Please go to my website. Tons of free worksheets, tons of free assessments. Please use the free resources. If you're like, am I in a trauma bond? There's a trauma bond assessment. Go take it. And then on Instagram, the real Dr. Nadine. I post every day. And TikTok, which is the Wild West of social media, right? Dr. Nay at NAELMFT. But yeah, I
Love
look
it.
forward to just pop me a DM and I'd love to say hi.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.